Am I still drunk? All right. Woo! Hey, Pat.
Well, welcome to another fascinating Confessions of a Rock and Roll Cameraman. The Carnival edition. I'm your host, Pat Cameraman, and to my left is rock and roll cameraman Tony Wanamaker. Decked out in your most flamboyant wear.
Absolutely.
This is great. What an amazing start. So let's talk about you and Carnival, because this is before much music. Well, before much music.
To your point, this was that interesting little niche just before we got a license in October, I stand corrected, in August of '84. So in February, we went, February-March is generally the time that Carnival happens, right?
Sure.
It's what is it? It's based on the observation of Lent, which is a Christian observation that happens 6 days before Easter Sunday. So the Carnival Monday and the Shrove Tuesday and the Ash Wednesday, when nobody can move, that happens just before.
Yeah. And so to fill in our viewers and listeners, the whole thing about Lent and Shrove Tuesday, or Pancake Tuesday, that's when you go in and you take all your stuff from your pantry, you take all that stuff out, and you eat it all, because Lent is supposed to be, I guess, a time of fasting and stuff. So you party with all the foods and everything you have left. So then you abstain until Easter.
Yeah. Well, in Trinidad, which is the mother of all carnivals, because you're all familiar with stuff like Quebec Winter Carnival.
Yeah.
The biggest in the world, Rio de Janeiro. Also in New Orleans, Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras.
And so the mothers of all of them is in the West Indies. And that's really the sacrosanct one, because that's the one, when you think about the origins, and we won't spend too much time on it, because I want to talk more about the party, because it's a great party down there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the idea of Calypso was sort of a ciphered language, man. It was code, right? So that the slave owners couldn't understand what the workers were saying. So that developed in a way to call into the valleys, right? Calypsonians has that kind of echo. It worked. It worked really well. I always say that Calypso gets the hips moving and soca keeps it grinding. Sorry, I'm back. So,
all right, so let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So you're flying down there because
Yes,
Trinidad has a huge cultural impact.
Yes.
They've invented instruments from garbage, basically, from waste, the pan drum.
Yeah.
Huge impact on societies. Amazing instrument because it's an oil can.
Well, let me tell you. This isn't it, folks, but imagine you have a barrel of oil. And a barrel of oil is generally, 42 US gallons. Anyway, it was developed in the mid-19th century, where a couple of guys got together and decided that, hey, you know what? 3,000 pounds should be the top off, because we don't want to overkill our trucks. That was the size. So they had this discarded waste, as Pat was saying, and Amoco oil is really big in Trinidad. And so what they realized, if they flatten this down, you get different pitches. And Pat, a musician, would know, suddenly you have a 12-note scale, a chromatic scale, and you have the newest instrument. So it's amazing to see pan played in Trinidad. We might get lucky during Caravana, which happens in our summer, July and August, and you may see 30, 40 pan players. Amazing. Right. Always an amazing thing to see that orchestra. When you see it perform in the Savannah, it's like 2,000 people come out, Pat.
You saw 2,000 people playing steel drums.
Yes, and forgive me, I'll move this over, because I'm going to be banging into this all after.
Well, just the sonic noise. It must have been just noise.
It was amazing, because imagine you've got all of this natural fog at night. You've got a lot of dust coming up there, so refracting. A lot of the concert lighting is beautiful. So the pans give off the steel blue hues at times, right? And you've got the large drums. So we've seen pans. A lot of folks are familiar maybe seeing pan arrangement at a mall where you got 12 good folks who are hitting it. You've got an entire football field now covered with pan players, and the percussion, the heavier notes, right, will have to have a deeper resonating drum, so they have the bigger barrels, Pat.
Okay.
So you get generally a structure of wrought iron, like 2 or 3 stories high, and everybody's syncopated. And hey, these are serious orchestras, man. They've played with Pavarotti. They've backed them up, right? That's how serious it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the documentary filmmaker in me, man, okay, I had to find out what makes this, pun intended, what makes this tick, right?
Okay.
So I worked my way, meandered my way through the, if you will, Middle Earth of Pan, right?
Okay.
And I finally see this lovely, like this is the archetypal old West Indian black man who's sitting on a stoop and he's just ticking away, tick, 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 tick. He's the metronome, man. He's got a break drum. He's the metronome for the entire orchestra. So 2,000 people inside the savannah, maybe 8,000 outside of it. The whole neighborhood, they come for bragging rights. It's the Jets versus the Sharks, man.
Wow.
It's amazing.
And you got this old guy just tapping away, keeping everybody to rhythm.
It's spectacular because he's absolutely invisible. He doesn't even know I'm there.
Right.
He's just lost in the tick, 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 human metronome. Beautiful, amazing to watch, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So so let's just set the stage. So you flew down there with who?
Well, you'll love this. This is the second flight I've ever had in my life. Prior to that, I was with Rhonda on one trip in Jamaica. I've never flown in my life.
Oh wow. Okay. So this is the first time you're flying
Yes.
on a plane.
Yes.
And you're doing it for
the new music.
For new music.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was amazing because my dad, love my dad, Cecil, drove me to the airport like a mail-ordered bride and dropped me off to John Martin, my boss, right? Okay. I get on a plane. It just happens to be a 747-101, the jewel of the BWI, British West Indian Airlines, the jewel of their airlines. The president's behind me. I'm on the top tier. It's an amazing lazy boy sofa I'm sitting in. And I've got room, cocktails, and a 6-hour flight ahead of me. Fantastic.
That's tremendous. So you're down there with John, and who else did you go with? John Martin?
So John Martin, of course, and a lovely woman named Deanne Taylor. And Deanne Taylor was one of the Hummer sisters. She was a mayoralty candidate, actually, in the 80s, right, up against Art Eggleton. And,
oh, really? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and along with her was a fellow named Moja from a band called Truth and Rights. Now, I want to quickly segue and tell you a cool story. This is 84, the first time I'm in Trinidad. I went back-to-back, 84 and 85, Pat.
Sure, okay.
Now, in 83, Deanne went there. What was interesting was Deanne went there with a woman named Lorraine Segato. Now, Lorraine Segato, for Canadians, was with a band called the Parachute Club. They had a massive hit in 84. They won the Juno Award for Rise Up.
Rise Up, yeah.
Now, if you watch the video, notice they're on flatbed trailers going down King. Why? What's Carnival, man?
That's right.
Stadium-sized speakers on flatbeds, people fetting in the street, doing a little whining, Pat. Little whining. Yeah. So that's what I went down with. And the great thing about Deanne is she knew and can navigate us through Carnival. Because there's a lot of moving parts, folks. And you can get easily confused. But what a cultural experience, man.
Yeah, well, if there's just 2,000 pan drum players, I mean, the costumes, the people.
Yeah. Well, the costumes. And what they say when you're in Trinidad, you want to get the requisite costume. You could be playing the tiger if you want, right?
Okay.
Or you could be playing what is this? The pink guy with the glasses, right?
Well, I think that's Elton John in his most flamboyant night.
But the point is, you pick a camp, the mass camp.
Oh, okay.
And so some of them are the classic aquatic themes, could be avian themes, it could be space themes.
So yeah, okay, so let's talk about mass.
Well, mass, and they love to play the mass. And playing the mass is basically playing a character in that mass camp. So the mass camp are themes by designers. Okay. So it could be the classics are aquatic because, hey, I'm in the West Indies, right? Lots of water around me. Avian stuff, space is a big one, right? And I was there at a unique crossroads by a guy named Peter Minshaw, and hence I'll explain this in a minute. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You're wearing a bit off.
Well, this isn't from my hangover, nor the weekend at Bernie's. This is to celebrate. This is actually a tie from the 1996 Atlanta Games, the Olympics, right? And as a matter of fact, I was pointing out to our friends Katie and Elizabeth that this poster, which my friend, it fell off a sign somewhere, but and it's a great souvenir. For these games here, Peter Minshall designed the opening.
Oh, okay.
He did the opening for this. He did it for Barcelona, Salt Lake City, the Winter Games 2002. What he did that was different was he took, and let me allow you folks just to backpedal quickly. On the Savannah stage, 20,000 people, it's like being in the CNA Grandstand, are going to walk by you. Okay, and they're going to walk by you in the costume, and they're going to fet with their friends, man, with their party, because they're all playing fish. A lot of fish are going to move across the stage.
Sure.
Right? Minchal took it a level higher. So a lot of folks will get the suds going, they'll get the maracas going, and they're going to have a great time.
Okay.
No question. Minchal saw it as moving mobiles. He raised the bar, enriched the process, and he was doing a thing at the time called, it was a trilogy. It was his magnum opus, if you will, and it was called The River. Now, I'd like Pat if he finds any clips of man crab, and imagine a young man, like this guy is the epitome of what every guy wants to look like. He's cut perfectly, but he has to hold on to all kinds of prosthetic equipment to allow him to become this entity that is at least, Pat, 12 feet high.
Right.
And he's got carbon fiber, things moving, flags, and inside there's an organic center, and that's that human being.
Sure.
So he plays the king, and he was representing the frenetic thing about technology gone awry, that kind of thing. And the calmer side, purity, was the washerwoman who played the queen. Now, you will see this evolve, because what was fascinating is everybody came on stage, okay, all wearing white. And then finally, there was a crescendo where he doused everybody in red paint. And you just saw all this red paint, right? Just being thrown over the stage. And it was crazy pandemonium, but beautiful, right?
Wow.
And that was the climax of that.
And so this is Peter Minchal. Now, he's not from Trinidad, is he?
As I understand, he's a Trinidadian, absolutely.
Oh, really?
I think he was born American and lived there. I'm not really sure his background. When people think of a higher level of art outside of Carnival, they think of Peter Minchal.
So were you down there to shoot his work and his part in Carnival?
Fair question, and that's where sometimes it gets a little confusing. We were there to document the culture, and this is really the core of what the new music was. The new music went places to say, you know, how do you express yourself as a community? And we can find that through your writing, through your music. And we're a music show. We concentrate on music. So that's what we went there for ostensibly.
Oh,
right?
okay. And so you went down there just to get the whole vibe of Carnival.
And what are some of the moving parts of Carnival, right? So we would find ourselves drilling down, if you will, with the documentary camera and finding those answers. But Minchal was an exception because we were there at the crossroads when things were changing. It wasn't just a party now. It was something else. It was theater, man. And that's what he was presenting.
So he was taking it just from a giant sort of field party into an event, sort of, just sort of an event extravaganza. You were looking at theater.
Yeah, I was likening it to what the impact that Franco Dragone had on Cirque du Soleil, what he offered Celine Dion and Shania Twain in their shows later when they did residency in Vegas. He raised the bar by taking a proscenium theater, it had two dimensions, and giving it a Z factor, and you know that from editing. So now I have three dimensions. I'm using this space up here as well. So Minchal started playing on those concepts, and it's really interesting. And later, if we get a chance to show you some of that footage, you'd be blown away. Huge fan of science fiction and pop culture. I went nuts when I saw Man Crab.
To that end, he created a trilogy of bands based around a book he wrote titled Kalaloo and the Crab. It told the story of a mythical young man and the forces of evil that sought to destroy him. His characters, Man Crab, a monster that demonstrated man's technology gone mad, and the beautifully costumed Kalaloo, won Minchal King of Carnival 2 years in a row. As an added bonus, his Bird of Paradise also won as Queen last year. We look forward to his entries this year, but due to a delay in design, they weren't ready for competition.
So that was an evolution in the Carnival time.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing that you were able to be there at that time.
Yeah. That was fantastic.
Yeah, because that's a next level thing.
But what's ironic is all things happen in real life. So I'm there in '85, the culmination of this trilogy. Nobody's ever had a themed mass where we carry over for several years. Yeah, it's done and gone that year, right? That's the theme. It's done.
Oh,
and gone.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's ephemeral. It's done. So now it's 85, and we want to see the culmination. And Peter's, I certainly want to get feedback from what's it like, man. You know. So we go to his home office, and there's all kinds of folks milling about, like pundits at an electoral campaign, right? Everybody buzzing around, TV's out in the middle of the living room, people can watch, see what's going on, comments. Trinidad and Tobago TV broadcasting this live, it's fantastic.
Sure.
Yeah. And then suddenly pandemonium ensues. People are crying.
What do you mean they're
People are upset,
Why?
Pat. It's amazing. Because Peter Minshall apparently was having such a good time, and I gathered he got loaded, and he passed out, and he missed the presentation of his trilogy.
Oh my God. Oh,
Yeah, I felt so bad for him. So, anyways, there's a lot of crying, right? And somehow Mr. Minshall managed to compose himself, get back, and give us the exit interview. But I thought, oh my God, all those years of planning, and because you're caught up in Carnival, you missed it.
well, at least he wasn't dead. I mean, when you first said, oh, well, all these people were crying, I thought, oh my God,
no.
the big opus. And then,
No, he still had Olympic Games to design.
well, sure. Yeah. Okay. Wow. So he got so drunk at his own party.
Yeah.
That's not the only crazy thing that happened with you in Trinidad. I mean, you went down there as a camera guy to shoot the culture, and you're down there with who's the interviewer? Who's doing the interviews?
J.D. Roberts, man, one of the smartest guys I've ever worked with, and what was really great, again, we are alluding to this idea that this national station was in the works for us, right? Well, we're down there in February, March, right? So August is still a little ways away. What was really great, folks, was that we get to tell folks at the CRTC Commission what we do actually empirically, okay, on the ground. And when people saw this West Indian documentary, and you know back in the early 80s, nobody was covering anything else, other communities.
Oh,
right?
absolutely
We were
not.
the only ones doing cultural events like that. So the West Indian community gave us all thumbs up and said, man, you're telling a story. This is our town, and you're conveying it as it should be. Those were huge props going into the CRTC. And again, it really works when the machine is already producing elements, and when you go and do the dog and pony show, people can see it and go, that's validated, man. You guys really do that.
Tonight, a special edition of the new music as we take a look at the 1985 Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago. The annual mass band competition.
Some of the real hives of activity around Carnival time are the various mass camps in Port of Spain, at which hundreds of people toil untold hours to put the look of the band together. I think it's safe to say that none of the people working here will get any sleep until Tuesday. As a matter of fact, when's the last time you got to sleep?
From Tuesday.
And that's now Friday, so that's 3 days.
Sure.
Is it worth it?
Yeah, sure, it's worth it because of the sacrifice, and the sacrifice is to be a winner.
The catchphrase of the 2 actual days of Carnival, Monday and Tuesday, is play your mas. Mas being your masquerade when you put on a costume.
It's traditional now for us at this time to let our hair down.
So, because you were there, that really drove home the point that Canada needed a music station to express culture.
Yes, and further to that point, Pat, it needed a station that was alert, was aware, that empathized with other cultures. That's where we found music.
Yeah.
You know, like because I was at the Hilton, I was hanging out with all the Clipsonians, right? So a guy that did well actually here in North America called Sparrow, right? But I became really close to a guy named Super Blue. And Austin, we just hit it off, man. And so I really got some time with him in 84 and 85. He always knows where I'm sitting. There's a spot I always love to sit at by the pool, and he joins me.
So you met him the first time you were down there.
We became friends. Yeah.
Okay.
We stayed in touch.
Yeah.
And then in 85, he had this special request, man.
What's that?
He said, Tony, think about this. In 83, quickly, Ronald Reagan sent an invasion force to Grenada.
Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war. But there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second. Surrender.
because Cubans and Soviets ousted the incumbent prime minister, and they wanted to protect the kids at the West Indian school there. So there was an invasion force. Austin's mom, Super Blue's mom, is Grenadian, right? So he wrote a song called Grenada to play the Road March King, to try and be the popular song.
Let me get this right. So this song that he's written, he wants this to be the theme of the event?
Wow, that's very astute, Pat. In carnivals, a lot of fun can get really confusing. And what Pat's saying is, so everyone competes. Imagine an artist every year bring out a new song and you want to be the Road March King, so that the mass band, let's say it could be Peter Minshall's or Edmund and Lil Hart, who are doing the fish theme this year, that could be the Road March song that you follow. And you follow the Road March King, who would be Austin if he won that coveted title.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, so is he working with, say, the Hearts or Minshall? Do they work together? Does the music go with the mass?
Yeah, and I guess it's like politics, you know, you're going to advocate for certain people. Hey, this makes sense for your band this year. You should do this with us, whatever. But they finally managed to meet, right, and make peace. And so somebody will adopt that song and continue forward.
Oh, okay.
So Austin wants me to do the Grenada song with him on the stage. Well, what's really cool on the way down there, and you'll see JD Roberts, man, they can do it all, grabs my camera, the video, and he films a whole bit of us heading down in the back of the car, practicing backstage, getting ready, and then finally when I jump on stage in front of 25,000 West Indians and I'm trying to kill Austin. Not a good idea.
We managed to become fast friends with Blue Boy over the course of Carnival, and even happened to take part in his drive to become Calypso Monarch. Our cameraman, Tony Wanamaker, a past Armed Forces cadet, joined Blue Boy on stage to play a U.S. Marine for a Calypso about American military intervention.
How visible is peace on earth between every nation? Well, 8,000 years will come and go, but it's a burning shame they'll have to die eternally. Jaja gonna be with them. Hey, hey, hey.
Wow, so you're on. He talked you in to being on stage dressed as an American military guy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that must have been tricky.
It was fun, maybe dangerous, but it's a funny bit. And I had a chance to do the best Western role in my life, man. Lee Marvin, John Wayne, eat your heart out, because nobody dies like this at high noon. I do the best.
That's great.
Yeah,
and
man.
JD, if you're watching, I'm sure you remember, JD was on camera.
Yeah.
Role reversal.
Yeah.
Role reversal.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the one thing what probably Pat will do is give you a montage of some of the elegant, outrageous, and wonderful costumes.
I am confused.
When they do the masquerade ball on the Savannah, we're seeing it to the max. This is RuPaul's Drag Race times 1,000, right? And it is great fun, and it is a great time to be robald and ebullient, and it's amazing to see. And I ended up using a star filter, Pat, which is really a hackneyed kind of...
What?
Yeah, but... You know, always look at some of the old photography tricks because sometimes they actually work. And I went, you know what? I gambled. I went for it. The 4-point star worked perfectly. All this glitter and sequin on that hit. It looks amazing.
That's terrific.
Amazing. It looks so good. My boss went bananas. And again, an old idea made sense that day.
And so then the four of you hightailed it out of there at the end on the auspices of...
we couldn't
John
pay our
Martin.
bill. We couldn't pay our bill.
Wow.
We had to leave early in the morning. The John Martin was giving us the all points bulletin. Get in the car. Don't say a word. We're going to the airport. And that's when he finally conveyed to me that we didn't have the money. So I guess I maybe had a couple of steaks too many. I'm not really sure.
Well, wait a minute. Was this in 84 that you didn't have the money and you took off?
Yep.
Or okay. So it wasn't 84. You didn't, because you had to go back, right?
Yep.
So you had to make amends.
Yeah. And all I had was my room key, which had a graphic of the Hilton Hotel on it. And that's what they used to photograph later and pay our bills.
Okay. So, so this,
That's it.
this
Wow.
is, what do they call that?
And I'm going to be right back.
They call that CoPro. What do they call that? Yeah. So they call that CoPro. So you basically, for being mentioned on air, sort of covers your bill.
So I had...
Usually that's worked out ahead of time, though, and not on the way out.
So I had 2 weeks of per diem, which I probably turned my money into maybe a couple of months of per diem because I billed everything in the hotel. And this here, and I'll give it to Elizabeth here. You can try for that close up, and I'll hold that. That paid our bills, man. And that's how we started Much Music.
Terrific.
Yeah. So now what it is, I think it's a keys I got for the lawnmower and maybe the cabana, I think. Yeah. Cool. There it is. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Much Music, built on Dine and Dash.
Dine and Dash.
Nice. Well, Tony, what an amazing adventure. You were down there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, man.
You were down there with John Martin, Deanne
Taylor.
Thank
you.
And J.D. Roberts.
J.D. Roberts.
You got to see for 2 years the revolution, the next level making of the Carnival event.
We got to see Peter Minshaw evolve over that time. We got to see, his River Opus, which is amazing.
River Opus, yeah. And so that's tremendous.
Yeah.
What an amazing adventure.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it was
You
great.
know?
Yeah. And subsequently, years after that, I used to hang out with the folks from Toronto Island, and they were really into traditional Carnival. So they would have like the Waya Benda, and they tried to play the Mass, and they'd follow somebody who was the Road March King, man. And right? It was awesome. And so I'd be out there with my camera filming my little girls, right? It was amazing. They got their little dresses on and going, raise your hand if you want to jam. And it's so amazing to see your little babies trying to do whining, and they're 6. It's like, hang in there. Great fun. Love the folks. Love the West Indies. Thank you, Trinidad and Tobago. You guys are awesome, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for tuning in to another exciting episode of Corn RC, Confessions of a Rock and Roll Cameraman. Please like and subscribe us if you're on YouTube, and certainly tell your friends, especially if you're on all of the audio versions. And you won't be able to see Tony dressed up like this in the audio version, but like and subscribe us. Tell your best friends about us, and then tell your enemies about us. Because if you have more friends and enemies liking us, then we'll all be liked.
I love it.
Yeah. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.